Hello and welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, KK Konashiro. While a quality education is available to every child here in Fremont, it can be easy to forget that that is not always the case around the world. In other countries, many children, especially girls who want to attend school, are prevented from doing so for a variety of reasons out of their control. Remembering their story of their grandmother growing up in Taiwan and the challenges she faced in achieving her dreams in learning education, two sisters from Mission San Jose High School created a video project to raise awareness of the struggles girls are facing, a film that has earned them a visit to the White House. This is so exciting. Sophie and Ivy Chan, thank you so much for being here. And I gotta ask first, what was the White House like?
It was a pretty unreal experience, the whole thing. When I received the email, it didn't really settle with me that we were actually going to the White House. And I think seeing this building that you've seen so many times in your textbooks in real life is a really neat experience. And then actually getting to go inside and looking at, we got to visit the White House dining room and just walk around the front of it, and I also got to walk through the kitchen, and I think just again seeing it in person, just very
surreal.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet the president?
Yeah, we did.
What was he like?
From what you usually think of him, he's usually very serious, and he doesn't really joke around, which was what I thought too. And at first, when he walked in, everyone was just really excited and laughing and screaming, and he just waited for us to calm down before he gave us a little talk. And then at the end, there's this one of the filmmakers, she was 6 or 7 years old, and she was there, and then he was wait, how old are you? I was oh, I'm 6, and he gave her a fist bump.
Oh, nice.
It's you guys are the filmmakers of the future, and it's really neat to see that you guys are doing such amazing things.
Oh, what a nice thing to say. Now, your project was based on your grandmother's story. How was this video? What was in the video? Because I've never seen it yet, so I want to see it after the show. But was your grandmother the star, or did you have someone play her part, or did you guys just speak? Was it a documentary type video, or how was this presented? Okay,
so we made a stop motion animation, and
Wow.
her story was presented in the beginning, kind of as an introduction to the topic. It gave a personal look at what a lot of girls are facing even nowadays. And what I said was her story took place in the 1940s and in Taiwan, but what people don't realize is that this is still a problem, and it's not a problem only in Taiwan.
Right.
And I think we take education for granted in America, but this kind of educational opportunities aren't available around the world.
Yeah, we're very lucky here. Yeah. How long did it take you to do this?
Okay, we had a quite limited timeline when we were working on this, and something kind of interesting, I think not a lot of people expect, was the ideation process actually took a large chunk of that total timeline, because when we saw the theme, we both agreed that it was a very impactful prompt. The theme this year was the world I want to live in, so we thought of different ways we could approach it, and we were initially considering a handful of potential topics, maybe water conservation, but in the end, with both of our experiences being women, especially interested in STEM subjects, and also combined with my grandmother's insight, we decided it would be best to advocate for this topic, since it's something that's very close to our hearts.
That's great. How is it working with your sister?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to work with my sister, because we have we live together, and we just have so much time
That's
in the
great.
same house.
That's great. Yeah, you don't have to meet her somewhere else to get anything done.
Yeah.
This is great. Now, what grade are you in?
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore, and you are?
I'm a senior.
A senior, so 2 years difference. This is great. And when you first started this project, how did it get to Washington? I mean, how did Washington catch your video? How did they even know about it?
Yeah, this is, so we made our film and submitted it to the White House Student Film Festival, and this year was its third annual round, and I'd heard about it in previous years from different friends, but the timing of the festival was always during the school year, so I never had time to like get around to it.
Okay.
But this year it was delayed, so it was supposed to come out like last Thanksgiving, the prompt, but the prompt didn't come out until earlier this year.
Okay.
And I kept watching for it. I was like, oh, I gotta join this year, and I was like, oh, it's not showing up. Like I couldn't find it. I was like, oh, they probably stopped it. But when my summer started, I just happened to search for it again, and I found the topic, and we both were like, oh, this is a pretty compelling like topic. Yeah, we should invest some time.
So when did you go to Washington? Was that last month or
The beginning of October.
beginning of October?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you there for a week? Did you get to see anything else?
It was a little over a weekend, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you get to meet Mrs. Obama?
No, I think she was having a talk somewhere else.
Yeah, and outside the state.
Bummer. Oh well. Now, in the filming process, I know it can be, time consuming. It's like a storyboard. You have to get all your story, so it connects throughout the whole film. What was that like? Because you're working with your sister and you both know your grandmother's story, but you have different opinions. Were you able to combine all your opinions together and come up with one story? Or did you, compromise? How did this work out?
Sure. So we started out the film with my grandmother's story, and we did some research on different statistics of where educational opportunities were, like especially poor for women, and I think it was actually relatively easy to work with her to write the script. Yeah, and do you want to talk about like the filmmaking process? How that was?
So like basically we just like set up like her desk lamp, as well as like the way that we made the stop motion was like a journal, and you flip it open and it sort of reveals her story. Like
Nice.
It's like a diary, sort of like her childhood. So it was just like a set camera because it's a stop motion film, and then we set up the lamp for like lighting, and one by one we just like marked the Post-its location. We took a picture and then we sort of changed it a little, and yeah.
That was a long process.
Yeah, it's tedious, but in the end, when it's all like put together, it's very satisfying.
That's good. Now, with all the research, excuse me, and the film that you've produced, what are your personal views about education nowadays? I mean, you went through this whole process from what you first started to what you know now. How's it changed?
Sure.
Do you think we're in a better spot than 1940s? Do you think that we still have a lot more improvement? What did you learn that surprised you about all this, about education as far?
So I think the statistics I learned about for in general, like developing countries, I learned that sometimes the kind of depressing fact is that it's not always an economical factor that's stopping the girls from going to school. There's a lot of cultural factors involved as well.
Can you give us a few examples?
Yeah, so my grandmother experienced that. Like her brothers were still allowed to go to school, even though their grades were not as good as my grandmother's. So it was like solely based on the fact that she was
just a girl.
Yeah, and
was she the youngest, the oldest?
She was older. That her younger brothers continued to go to school,
but she couldn't. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. And is that true with other countries? Any other examples you can give us? Just because they're girls, that's it. That's the biggest one, I bet. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something I learned when I was researching about different opportunities in America, because I think we're generally portrayed as like a leader in this like equal education movement, and what I realized is there's like within the K through 12 education system, it's more equal, but as we get to the like college level, there's like a discrepancy, especially with women in STEM subjects, right? You see a lot of girls exhibit an interest for these subjects in middle school, and then but we don't see the same kind of representation in college or in the workforce.
Why do you think that is? Just because they're girls?
I think it has to do with, it's kind of a vicious cycle. So with girls girls as young teens, like looking up to people that are in the workforce, they don't see that kind of representation, and that might just discourage them.
Yeah.
And with like some girls dropping out, you get a smaller ratio between like girls and boys in the classroom, and I think that has to do with it too.
Okay. Now, you've received a lot of attention from your being in the film festival and going to Washington, D.C. and meeting the president. How have you been handling that? Has that been exciting? Has it been humbling? Has it been scary? What was that like, getting all that attention?
I guess it was just like, I was just really happy about everything. Like, some people were like congratulating me at school, and it was just, it's been like an amazing like journey, like from the brainstorming to like actually going and like being able to share this experience with other people too.
Oh, I bet.
And yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're going to be filmmakers when you grow up?
So I'm currently in the college application process. I have a lot of friends, like after I went to the White House, that were like asking me like, oh, are you going to major in film? And they seem pretty surprised when I tell them I want to major in mechanical engineering.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, and yeah, they might be confused because like one is in the sciences and the other is like in art, but I really hope to bridge the gap between these two subjects, and I don't think it's mutually exclusive, right? I really want to continue film as a hobby, and I believe when you make new like technological innovations, when you pair that with education through the online media, you're able to reach like a whole lot of people, and by telling them about the problem and presenting them a solution, you help to make your inventions a lot more feasible. Right?
This is great. What about you?
I'd still like to like make films in my free time or anything, but I'm like more interested in math and also like music, so I'll probably most likely continue doing that in
That's great.
college.
Do you play any musical instruments now?
I play flute.
Flute? Do you play?
Yeah, I self-taught myself the guitar.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Wow. You guys can do everything. This is great. Now, is there anything that you want to express that you learned that you were surprised by, whether it was working as a team, whether it was marketing your film? What did you learn that you did not expect to learn?
Yeah, I'll start, and like you can probably chime in. I think in the bigger picture, so through advocating for girls' education, like through uploading my film to YouTube, I realized the power of this online video platform, and I was getting feedback from people
From all over the world.
Yeah, like actually, I saw people from Ghana viewing my film, like United Arab Emirates, and different European countries as well. And
That's exciting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like you think about how these people even found your video, but it just shows that the online community is in fact like really close, and uploading just a short video about your idea can really impact someone's thoughts that are like literally on the other side of the globe, right?
Were they surprised when they found out how young you are? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're in high school. Yeah. And another thing that I learned was, I think like taking advantage of the opportunities that you have and the materials that you have. So being a student, I don't have a lot of money to buy really fancy like Hollywood production equipment. So one of my most memorable parts of this filmmaking experience was actually creating the voiceover for this film. So usually people will have like the really fancy sound recording studios, and they have all the acoustic foam on the side. And I didn't have any of that, so I printed a small version of my script and went back to my childhood days and built a small pillow fort, and I like stuck the microphone inside and stuck my head inside this little booth and recorded my
This is
voiceover.
great.
Yeah, and
It worked.
yeah, it does. The pillows do the exact same thing as acoustic foam, and so something that I would say to others is don't be discouraged because you don't have like,
Money.
a lot. That, and if it's not clear that you have like a lot of really
Resources.
like fancy resources, there's always
A way.
like a way to make it work, and
Yeah.
by being resourceful you can find a way to make it happen. Yeah.
I think this is great. Yeah, you can achieve anything if you just think about it. Yeah. What did you learn that surprised you?
So like this topic in general, like I was aware of like the like a lot of people are trying to push for girls' education, except I was actually surprised when I first realized that it was sort of like related to me, and my grandma actually went through it, and it just made the issue a lot more serious for me, and it just really made me want to go out and tell people about this
Yeah.
problem.
This is great.
Yeah.
Now, how did you, because filming a project like this, or putting together a film in general, there's many different jobs. Who decided to do what? Did you guys say, okay, we have to do all these things? Who's going to be producer? Who's going to be director? Who's going to do the sound? Who's going to do the light? Who's going to do the content? How did you guys come up with the schedule of who's going to do what?
Okay, so she's the more artistic one. So she did a lot of the like technical camera work and like placement of objects and like lighting and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I guess I was behind the sort of like the story behind it, and I did a little of the sound design too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do the musical score?
We didn't have background music, just really wanted to make it raw.
Okay.
So it just has a narration in the background.
Oh,
and
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Now, if you can tell anybody who's watching this show any words of encouragement that doesn't have resources, that doesn't have the money, how would you encourage them to go ahead and achieve whatever they want to do? Because this is all about education. There's always a way. You just have to figure it out, right? Any other words of encouragement?
I'd say, especially to the girls,
Yes.
yeah, you do have equal potential compared to your male classmates, and try to find a community of other like-minded people where you guys can support each other. If you guys have the same interests, it's really great. And I think, like going through this, you might feel very alone, but
Right.
having that small community can help
Right.
us all like develop and grow.
Now, I know you guys were in Washington for a short period of time, but were you able to make any friends with the fellow student filmmakers?
Yeah, I did. They had photographer Chuck Close come to. He's a pretty well-known portrait photographer, and he carries this really large Polaroid camera. It's like old-fashioned Polaroid camera around, and it prints out these like really huge portraits. It's pretty neat. But on the day we got selected to take these pictures, he was running late because of DC traffic, and
Right.
we got to, me and about 8 other student filmmakers got to hang out in the green room of the White House.
Nice.
We just got to chat about high school and about our filmmaking process, and I thought it was pretty neat that we were able to bond. And it was only later that I found out these people were from like all over the United States. So I was meeting people from Kansas, Oregon, Massachusetts, New Jersey. So really from like all parts of the United States.
Now, you guys were special because are you the only sister team? Were there other brothers and sister teams out there? Or they were just fellow classmates?
There was one team where, like, I believe the oldest brother, around like 10 years old, along with like 3 of his younger siblings, all made a film together about family, and it was a really neat video.
That's great.
Yeah, his sister was the one that President Obama
Fist
gave a
bump.
fist bump to.
This is great. Well, congratulations to you two. Well-deserved accolades. This is fantastic. I wish you all the best. I know you can do a lot more for the world of education, especially for girls. This has been great. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Good. And from everyone here at Community Conversations, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you soon.
This is my grandmother. She grew up in the 1940s in Taiwan and went to school with her younger brothers. She was always the top of her class and learning took her on adventures all over the world outside her door. That is, until 5th grade. Because after 5th grade, her father stopped her from going to school. Her younger brothers, though, continued to go to school even though their performance was not as good as my grandmother's. Her father simply said, "You can't, because you're a girl." Unequal educational opportunities are not unique to Taiwan, and they're not a matter of the past. Because 70 years later, women in Turkey, Iraq, Guatemala, Haiti, and a multitude of other countries are still discouraged from pursuing education. But the effects of educational inequality stretch much farther than most people think. The lack of proper education snowballs into a handful of greater problems, like unequal gender representation in politics and industry. It furthers stereotypes that women are not as hardworking or able as men, or that women cannot perform well in technical professions. Those stereotypes are simply not true. With the exponential increase in bandwidth across the globe, I hope issues like lack of schoolhouses or distance to school will become a thing of the past, as scholastic materials will be accessible online. I hope the government can provide subsidies to families to support the academic development of their girls. I hope girls like my grandma, bright and yearning for knowledge, will no longer be denied education because of their gender.
Look what I made!
Most importantly, there must be a change in mentality, in heart. All must understand the equal potential of women. Society has advanced dramatically just within the last century, even while constantly pushing women down. So, consider what our lives would be like, and what technologies, books, and insight we could appreciate if the suppressed half of the global population was instead encouraged to invent, innovate, and inspire. That is the world I want to live in.